Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and this is a video about the full moon in Gemini taking place on December 7th at 11:07 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This full moon in Gemini video is for the Twin Flame Collective, Divine Counterpart Collective. If you're looking for the Lightworker Energy Update, it is the other video published simultaneously alongside this one. This full moon in Gemini takes place here at the 16th degree of Gemini, right alongside Mars retrograde, and is directly square the divine feminine energy. That's Juno. She represents our receptive and creative and connecting capacities. This is really, and this makes it really interesting, right? So the vibe of this whole full moon, based on all of the pieces that connect with it, have to do with discernment and reflection when it comes to our relationship. So please have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update. I've been talking about this significantly over the last several lunations because the majority, I would say, of lunations over the last 6 months have heavily featured either Venus or Juno and had something to say about love. And so because of that, during the Lightworker Energy Updates, I'm like constantly talking about our relationships and the direction of our relationships and what's happening in our relationships. And I just focus on the movement of the divine counterparts, Juno and Jupiter, during the twin flame specific reading. However, if you're really trying to understand the full context of relationship energy that's unfolding at this time and why things may be rendering the way they are in your reality, the Lightworker Energy Update will get you there. For this full moon in Gemini, I'm really just focusing in this particular video just on what Juno and Jupiter are doing. But Juno's just so heavily featured during this full moon. And it's because she's square the full moon. And so too is Nessus. Nessus is the energy of rumination and review, kind of thinking, then double thinking, and then triple thinking the double think. It's a bit of OCD with it all. And so we've got Nessus and Juno sitting together. Juno represents our partnerships. She is the partnership asteroid, but she also represents divine feminine energy. And she's been sitting in connection with the South Node the majority of this year, both the beginning and the ending. And that connection is fostering an energy of release, like almost like a giant toilet flush underneath her to remove energies from her field that she no longer needs. And so, regardless of the body or gender you incarnated into, or what kind of genitalia you have, don't have, or transitioning to, all of us have a feminine energy. All of us have a masculine energy. All of us have our own unique combination of those two. And so when you're listening, I want you to really be listening for where in your life is the divine feminine energy pieces, where in your life are the divine feminine energy pieces most prominent, and where in your life are the divine masculine energy pieces most prominent, because they're going to be prominent, both of them, in some areas of life. Most likely they'll be a little bit different, but possibly there's some overlap. And I'm curious for you, if you're willing to share that below in the comment section, as I discuss what's going on with divine feminine, which area of life that happens for you. And as I discuss what's going on for divine masculine, which area of life that's taking place for you. That would be interesting just to see how this is playing out for people. Okay, so here we go. We have Juno Nessus speaking to the South Node, and there's a release. Juno is the last sign of the zodiac, or in the last sign of the zodiac, that's Pisces. So there she is completing a cycle. Scorpio is a sign of ending. South Node's about letting go. And so there's been this energy in our divine feminine energy fields of purge, release, let go. The beginning of the year was heavy with that energy. The middle of the year, we got just a little bit of ease. Now, the end of the year, we're closing out with that energy again. And there was certainly a movement of it. there's some area of life where we are getting this permission to release, permission to let go, permission to purge. And whether we've wanted to or not, there's also been a bit of like a sucking, like a vacuum of energies that have not been healthy for us out of our world. And so you may have seen people or circumstances just begin to crumble that you may have wanted to maintain, or wanted to continue to receive from, because divine feminine energy is receptive, and it's crumbling. You can't receive from it anymore. It's not working for you, predominantly because you're changed, you're different, you're new. I talk about all of that in the Lightworker Energy Update. And so the structure of your life has been catching up to that newness within you. And so there's just to continue to eat when you're no longer hungry can put you into a state of sickness or illness, right? To continue to take medicine when you're no longer sick can make you sick again. And so, what's happening with this vibration for her is that there are things that you may have been attached to taking from, receiving from this year that have crumbled for whatever reason. To continue to have those things in your world would have made you sick. The South Node is sucking them out like a vacuum. Pisces is allowing you to grieve, purge, and release it. And there's this opportunity for final release with this full moon in Gemini before we go into the new cycle. Okay. And so we've been talking about this all year. Now, Juno has been direct since, let's see, October 22nd. She was in retrograde motion beginning July 24th, from the 7th to the 21st degree of Pisces. So she's still not out of her retrograde zone. She has to cross over Neptune to get out of her retrograde zone. Now, the closer she gets to Neptune, the hazier and foggier and more confusing and more spiritual and more, how do we say, not just spiritual, but like kind of etheric almost things will become in our divine energetic fields. And dreams may have already been extraordinarily potent for people who are anchoring more divine feminine energy during this period of time. Certainly, the divine masculine energy has been in Pisces the last lunar cycle as well. So, dreams for both counterparts could have been quite vivid, quite informative, quite illuminating, quite prompting and nudging about what needs to be shifting in our lives at this time pertaining to the connection. There could also be dreams about one another pertaining to the connection as well. So, the dream state stuff ramping up for sure now that she's direct. Many of you who were feeling a sense of, I can't feel the connection during the retrograde, again, that was July 24th through October 22nd. You may now feel the connection again, where the connection may have felt quite dormant. It could now feel quite active, because she's the glue in the connection. And when she's retrograde, sometimes the glue can get a little unstuck. But glue's back on, nice and hot. That energy is certainly here, especially with her speaking to Nessus the way she is. Could be a lot of rumination about the connection in the divine feminine energy fields as well. What happened, what hasn't happened, what's going to happen, and what needs to happen, what actions individuals in the connection need to take to foster connection. You know, I talked about this in a video that I did. Just do a quick replay of this. I talked about this in a video that I did ages ago. It was a video, one of the forgiveness videos, where inside of the connection, you know, both people are kind of hanging out, doing their own thing. And there's this pull that yanks them both to the connection, that yanks them toward the connection, not necessarily each other, but the co-created energy that the two of them manifest, it's called the connection, right? And that's its own energy. But when getting yanked toward the connection, what both people will encounter with every dream, with all the ruminating thoughts, etc., both people are going to encounter that they hit these bricks that are kind of like this wall that they can't get past. And there's this sensation of why can't I find my way to this person? Why is it so hard when we are together? Why isn't this smooth? Why isn't this easy? And it's interesting because I had Allison Armstrong, one of my coaches, on the channel yesterday, and she talked about the assumption that a relationship should be easy is one of the number one things that's actually harming relationships at this time. That there's nothing in the world of human instinct, and our instincts around as we are don't necessarily foster relationships being easy. They foster protection, they foster survivalship, that not connection. And so, she talked a little bit about that yesterday. She goes more in depth with it in her courses. But when we have this thing that goes on in the connection where we are yanked towards it, and in getting yanked towards it, then we feel this great pull to the person, but then we run into this like brick wall that doesn't seem to allow the connection to breathe. It can be very frustrating. And what's happening, especially during this union window, is that this yank towards the connection is just louder. It's coming with more force, more pull, more weight. And the reason why it happens is because what the divine counterparts want when they move up into the sky together, they want union energy. They want to remove all of these bricks. The only person who can remove the bricks is you, and you have your own special flavor of bricks. So this one right here is, I don't know, let's just say mom abandoned me. You got to deal with that one. This one right here, let's say, is dad cheated on mom. This one right here, let's say, is I grew up poor and I don't believe that I can make money. I need someone to take care of me. And then this one right here could be I don't trust anybody because of, a sexual trauma that I went through when I was younger. So I don't like to ever be touched, right? You could have your flavor of bricks. They got their flavor of bricks going on. And these bricks are all walling off the capacity to deeply connect to love. Now, what happens as Juno and Jupiter inch closer and closer together in the sky is that there's a demand to deal with the bricks. There's a demand to get therapy, coaching, support, guidance, healing, past life work, whatever it is for you. There's a demand to get in there in the reconfiguration of your life and your mind and take these bricks down one by one. And what you'll find happens as you start taking down your side of the bricks, even if your person does nothing, is that there's just less density between you and union energy unfolding in your life. So because you sit in an orientation to love, you're choosing love. Love is unfolding for you. You're choosing to look at the stuff, you're loving it, you're healing it, you've got compassion for it. One by one, your bricks start to come down. Union energy starts to cascade in this connection. And if for whatever reason that person just likes their bricks in place, let's say, right? That could be a way they want to do life. It doesn't mean that you're stuck without love. Your willingness to call in and anchor union energy creates a demand from the universe for union energy to anchor. whether it's through this person or not. And so I want you to be really clear that the choice is about being oriented to love. It's not about being oriented to the person. The choice is about being oriented to removing your blocks to love, not fixing them and their blocks. Okay. And so, where there has been over attachment to the person, but not leveraging that for the lesson around what it is that are your personal blocks to love. Why did this get stuck where it got stuck? Love, the connection to this person is the hook. That's the bait. The actual work, the meat on that bone, that's these blocks that you got to remove so that love can really live in your life and thrive in your life. Whatever it is that's your work to heal and release, all of that would have been sharply revealed to you during the first segment of this union window, January of 2022 into January of 2023. That was the work of 2022, is getting clear. What are my blocks to love? Getting into healing around them. Now, prior to this in 2020 and in 2021, I have talked about numerous healers, guides, coaches, teachers. I even had one on yesterday, Allison Armstrong. If you've been repeating cycles when it comes to love in the world of the way people treat you, in the world of the way your relationships end, in the world of how your relationship patterns are, where you shrink and shrink and shrink, or, whatever your pattern is, this is not the time for Reiki. This is not the time for energy work. This is the time for getting tools. This is the time for getting coaching. This is the time to get somebody to put some training wheels on that brain, that mastery creator brain that you received when you incarnated here, scramble it a little bit so that you can approach love from a completely different way, because you are made different. Your puzzle piece is shaped different. The board has no choice but to reshape itself for you. Okay. And so that's what the work in the divine feminine energy field has been. It's been release, it's been let go, it's been forgiveness, it's been compassion, it's been surrender and submit to the parts of yourself that need healing, or the parts that you can't change. It's been about self-acceptance, right? And accepting other people where they are. The more you do the work of transforming what needs to be transformed and just honoring that which needs to be honored within yourself, and releasing the need for the circumstance to bend to fit your personal inability to grow, right? I'm not willing to grow. They need to grow. The more you release that, the easier it's going to be for this union energy to anchor. And that's been the work in our divine feminine energy fields, is revelation about where our growth is this year and what needs to be released so that union energy can anchor. Now, for some of you, it's as concrete as, I have been loving this person for 14 years and I have been married to somebody else for 20. Listen, there is nothing in the world of astrology I can tell you that's going to shift what happens for you in the world of twin flame union or divine counterpartship union, or that will override it until you have dealt with the physical block you've created with the verbiage of commitment to somebody who's not your twin. You've got to undo that. The stars can't do that for you. God can't do, you have to undo that. If you are done in A and what you want is B, you have to let go of A in order to get to B. There's no other way around it. And the season we've just come through, which was a season of bright lights and hard truths, would have really revealed that to you. We are now in a season of decision making. And we see that in the divine feminine fields with Mars. He's got this square to Juno. And so Mars is about action, but Mars is retrograde in a sign of thought forms. And so there's this energy of maybe some trial and error needs to happen. There's this energy of testing things out, seeing how things go. If you've not normally been a person of commitment, try it. What configuration of it could work for you? If you've not normally been a person of letting go, try it. What configuration of letting go could you try that could make it safe for you? Right? Whatever it is that you've normally, listen, let me put it this way. In order to get something you've never had, you've got to be willing to do something you've never done. That's how you quantum leap. That's how you get to something new. And so we've got this, like I said, this rumination about it all, this opportunity for second chances and trying new things with Mars here. We've got, this fog as she comes closer and closer to Neptune that's asking us to slow down, turn on our bright lights, really spiritually attune ourselves to what's being asked of us. And we've got a square to the new moon, like I said. So there's lots of consideration about actions taken in the past in the divine feminine energy fields. So often in my readings, I get person after person wanting to ask me about their person. Well, what are they doing? And when are they going to change? And what's their lesson? And why don't they love me? And why can't they feel the connection? And what them. We are in a union window with self because the divine counterparts are going to meet up in the sign of Aries, the sign of the self, the sign of the individual. And so this union has to do with coming home to who we really are. And so this reflection that we're going into right now with the Mars retrograde, Mars being the sign, the ruler of the sign the counterparts will meet in, this is an opportunity for grand reflection on what I brought to the table. How did what I bring to the party land us in the situation we are in? If it's a situation of separation or a situation of union, that is somehow could be working better, could be ascending in a different way. We could co-create in some other ways. What am I bringing to the table that's creating participation in a circumstance I don't actually want to experience? Right? At the end of the day, you get to the end of your life and you get to that moment where there's just no more decisions that you can make because you're out of time. There's no more changes or adjustments that you could facilitate because the days are done. You got 1 week, 1 day left. Are you going to be okay with living with, but they never did X, Y, or Z, knowing full well that you had things you could have done that you never did either? Or would you rather live or walk out of here knowing, you know what? They never showed up, but I did everything in my power that I knew I needed to do to stand for love. I don't I don't need to repeat this. I forgive them, I bless them, I release, I move on. If you know in your heart of hearts that there's something unhealed or undone that is a blockage to love, I implore you, get the support you need at this time to just deal with it. Just face it. Just get the divorce papers already. Just go to therapy. Freaking talk to the past life person, even if you don't believe in hypnotherapy or past lives. Just talk to them, explore it, do something new to get something new. Okay. There's this energy, and I talk about this inside of the Lightworker energy update. I won't go into all the planetary configurations as to why, but there is an energy with this lunation that there's rock and a hard place vibes to it. And it would be really easy, especially from our divine feminine energy fields in the sign of Pisces, which is all about surrender and letting go and release. And she's got this vacuum in her field from the South Node talking about let go of the dead things of the past. It would be so easy to try to just say, well, nothing's ever worked, so I'm just going to throw the whole thing away. Or to go, well, it's just stuck. They don't do this and so doesn't do that. So it'd be very easy to get caught up in victim consciousness with this, with a capital V. You're not a victim to your twin flame or divine connection circumstance. You are a powerful, masterful creator incarnate. You have choices. Do not sing victim songs with this energy, because I guarantee you that's going to be a way to repeat cycles. I speak to people all the time who have seen these energies and others that have been meant to shake them loose, that have been meant to liberate them, who just continuously see the bus show up, see everyone else get on it, and sit glued to their chair and wonder why they aren't going anywhere. Because they're not doing what it takes to just get on the bus. Don't let that be you. You got something to do it. Make it happen at this moment. And I cover why when we get to first look inside the Lightworker energy update. There's some really interesting energies coming. But, it's not for nothing. I get it. This stuff is hard, but you are not a victim to any of it. You've been a co-creator in the process of it. You are a co-creator now. So go ahead and create something new. Love and union energy, they're anchoring. They are here. The bus is opening its doors. But if you are so enmeshed in the song of what it was and the pain of what's been, and there's been no forgiveness, no compassion, no release, then you've already bought your ticket to a repetition of cycle, just so you could find your way back to the point of choice again and make a different one. Don't let that be you. Okay, so that's a bit of what's going on in the feminine energies. There's an invitation because there's so much pressure vibrationally as the divine counterparts both wrap up in the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces. There's a lot of pressure to get on with going into the next cycle. And as they come closer together, there's a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of energy of like, where are my blocks to love? What do I need to do about them? This is blocked. Why is it blocked? What needs to happen to unblock it? Right? As we get into the peak time, and we are in it now, of this union window energy, it's less than 30 days away. What I'm seeing here, the peak day is, oh no, it's more than 30 days. It's January 23rd. What I'm seeing here is that there's this immense pressure building to figure out what's not working in connection, why it's not working, and what we need to do about it. It doesn't have to be your connection with your counterpart. It's just connection with love, right? But in order to really leverage and harness this energy under the light of this new moon, because we have this T square between, Juno, moon, and Mars, and then sun, what needs to happen is we need to manifest in ourselves in the Virgo energy, which is receiving discernment and clarity, receiving insight, getting into decision making. And this is about taking that pressure that we feel and moving out of desperation to just make a union happen with anybody. I don't care who I'm in union with now. Just unionize me with somebody, right? Slow it down, right? Get out of desperation and get into discernment with this energy. That's the call. That's the demand on our divine feminine energy fields, to move out of feeling so desperate for union energy to occur and manifest with this person in this way, in this format, in this business, or in this, however way you have the picture of union energy in your world, moving away from the desperation for it and getting into the discernment of what is my step and aligning with it, right? Because that desperation will have us all do crazy things. The desperation is what has you see as you watch these videos on YouTube, people post in the comment section, I just threw the whole thing away. And it's because the pressure to transform was so great, but it didn't come with discernment about their work in the transformation. You also see in the comments, like, I give up. I'm just going to go with this other person because this other person is here, even though I'm vastly and deeply still in love with person A. That's desperation. There's no discernment in that. That's just giving up. And so we're being asked to dig into our mastery level patience, our mastery level capacity to release, our mastery level capacity to discern and go, okay, what is my work in removing the bricks? Okay. And both counterparts are getting that pressure, getting that energy at this time. Where am I blocked when it comes to love? What do I need to do? Lots of tools and resources in the Tools for Union playlist on this channel, just so you know. Just pick a video that calls to you, or if you know there's a therapist you want to work with, go get it. Find something, do something, scramble the brain. All right. Now, as I'm talking through this release, this purging energy that's been in the divine feminine energy fields, in a minute, we're going to talk about the divine masculine energy fields. Many of you who have had the orientation to the twin flame journey as one person is one energy and the other person is the other energy are starting to realize that you're actually both energies. And if what you're wanting is for union to take place on the outside, it's going to be really critical to be listening on the inside for where your divine feminine energy is purging and releasing, and where your internal divine masculine energy is producing results in the area I'm about to speak to next. Okay. So that's Jupiter, and Jupiter hangs out here at that 29th degree of Pisces, headed back into Aries after a long retrograde season. And our divine masculine energy fields has been leading the union journey. It's been out in front of the divine feminine energy, let's say the majority of this year, and in the energy. And so some of you, I can already hear you. I want you to hear me very clearly, because what you just heard me say was divine masculine leading this journey. And what happened inside of you was, he's not leading anything. We all have both energies. There is a part of you that holds divine masculine energy. Where in you are you leading this for you? Union with self, right? Get into that you hold this energy too. Okay? That there's the more you can embrace that you have both, the easier it's going to be to embrace your counterparts both, which is then going to make, because you're not in separation consciousness about this, you're in union conscious about both parts of you. It's going to bring union energy into the connection and give them permission and freedom and liberty to be in union energy too. You see how that goes? If you want union, you have to hold union. You can't split yourself and be either or. If you want separation, then continue to think of yourself as just one, when in reality you are two inside of one. Okay. So here we go. Jupiter is hanging out over here, leading the union journey this year with a focus on providing and protecting the path of personal ambition, producing results in the arena of personal ambition and self-actualization. That's Aries. So Jupiter has dipped into Aries already midsummer and now going to go back into Aries. Aries is a sign of that personal ambition. It's the sign of the new self-actualization. It's the sign of new beginnings. And so we have Jupiter, our divine masculine energy, having taken charge in that direction already for a part of this year and now running back towards it as we get into January. It'll get there, I think, sometime the end of this month, December or beginning of January, probably first few days. Now, the question for you is, where in the world of producing results, of personal ambition, where in the world of self-actualization have you already been working on creating something new and different? Where has that already unfolded and transpired this year? Because we're going to get a second dose or a deeper dive with that as we get into January and Jupiter finishes up here in Pisces. This will be a time in which we feel the call and the pull of the new and the next. And again, the question really is about discernment at this full moon in Gemini, because on the one hand, we could embrace the new as a way of not having to deal with the blocks and the bricks. That's a guaranteed way to bring those blocks and bricks right along with us and pick the lesson up where we left off with the new person. In other situations and cases, it's less about dealing with a person in connection, but where is it that what you want is to have something new in the world of work or family, or you want to move house, or you want to start a new business. That may be the place where this union with self is taking place, depending upon your chart. Okay. What's interesting about this is that he is speaking in harmony with Pluto. Pluto is imbuing the divine masculine energetic fields with a sense of power. And speaking in harmony with Lilith and Pallas from Cancer, imbuing the divine masculine energy fields with some emotional reality and truth that's inescapable for us. Like, the reality of this is how that feels. And that is a great barometer, truth barometer of where we're actually at. And this full moon is coming in for our divine masculine energy fields. And so too have the last several lunations. There have been some inescapable truths in our divine masculine energy fields. And again, those fields are about what we want to create. There's been some inescapable truths about what that's going to take. So what you want is to start XYZ business. This is what that's going to take. What you want is to facilitate and create, XYZ farm. This is what that's going to take. There's some inescapable truths about what's required emotionally from us in order to create the outcomes we want, either release or I'm just not excited about that anymore. It's time for me to move on to something where there's life, right? There's some inescapable emotional truths. I'm just not invested in this anymore and I can't fake it. In our divine masculine energy fields, these emotional truths have begun to present themselves over the last 4 months. And in so doing, we're moving into a season of action upon them. And the action at this time may be tentative, with the Mars energy being retrograde. They will get more and more consistent, more and more, how can I put it? The actions we need to take will have more and more clarity the further we get into 2023. But right now, we've just been moving through a process in our divine masculine energy fields. Here's what I want to produce. Here's where I'm actually lit up and excited. Here's where I'm actually invested emotionally. Here's where I'm not. And there's light bulbs going on about where there needs to be aligned action with those truths. Okay. So, with Ceres in the mix with Jupiter, there's a recognition that there's a season that's over and complete here. Ceres represents seasonality. Pluto also represents seasonality. I went in depth about the mythology around these in the Lightworker Energy Update if you wanted to understand why, but there's just a closing of a season here in our divine masculine energy field. Certain things that we may have been producing or providing or protecting previously is now coming to a close. There's a completion and an ending around that, where there's a change in priority for us and in our divine masculine energy fields, where we might have been deeply invested in fatherhood. Our children may have just graduated and now it's time to get deeply invested in our, retirement business, or where we've been deeply invested in, trying to make a certain business happen and it just hasn't happened. You may be going through a season of pruning where a new dream is on deck, but in order to get to producing the new one, you've got to let go of the old one, right? There's something in the world of what it is we want to do next that has been trying to push its way into our lives, while simultaneously something else has been trying to exit. And the gift of this moment is the release. How do you let it all go? Now, if you want to talk about this in your life, the way to do that with me would be to book a private session. I'm over at kmoonastro.com. The link for that is below this video. I've got January time available. This energy is going to be with us, the Mars retrograde energy all the way through March. So if you're trying to figure out how do I design experiments to help me figure out what I want to do next, because my mind is split, Mars retrograde in Gemini, sign of duality. If you want to figure out how to work this for yourself, we can talk through that based on your chart and your options in private session. Okay. There's a reemergence energy to this now that we've got these two planets that represent closing and completions, and we've got Jupiter at the final degree of Pisces. That's the end of Pisces, ending with Ceres, ending with Pluto. There's a lot of ending in our divine masculine energy fields. We're just things we're just done with. We're just done doing certain things. And so this is kind of, there was a final step, but this is kind of like the final step before a breakthrough. This is beyond the baby crowning for anyone who's ever witnessed a childbirth. This is the head is out and we need 2 or 3 more good pushes, perhaps 4 to 6, before the baby's all the way out. Okay. There's a square to Mercury that's facilitating a bit of overconfidence in some ways. Whenever Mercury and Jupiter get square, there can be a sense of just like overestimating precisely what it is that it's going to take to get there. But that over optimism at this point, I actually think is a really good thing, because Jupiter in Pisces for many has been, while artistically enhancing, it is also, and creatively inspiring, it has also brought on a lot of feels. And so it's really constructive that Mars and Mercury are square at this time, because it's allowing us to have some new ideas, even in the state of over optimism. Okay. Because there's a square to Pholus here, though, there can be a little bit of over optimism and not accounting for where other people are at and how where they're at may impact our plans. Like, yes, I am going to now go declare my love to my person, and completely missing, like, you haven't spoken to that person in how long, and their life could be in a completely different place. You might want to do some checking in before you, like, you know, drive in with, horns blaring, right? The other way this could go to is other people have certain plans going on, and you're just privately going through your agenda of what you're going to do and how you want change to work. No one's really communicating with the Mercury square Jupiter. It could be communication and lots of it. Sometimes not even clear communication. But there could be a bit of like action before communication, cart before the horse energy, like brashness to this in our DM energy fields that with fullness in the mix can just cause our plans to come to naught because there just wasn't enough good communication. Just to make sure you're talking to people if you are planning things that involve them. Make sure there's lots of communication, especially as we move into the later part of the holiday season. Making plans and decisions for other people, just especially adults, not children, it just doesn't tend to go well. Deciding what they're going to want, deciding what they ought to do for them. You can find with fullness in the mix that can really backfire. Having conversation, being in communication is going to be the key here. Okay. Now, if you want to look at these as people, and I know some of you really prefer to do that because for reasons, pertaining to your path, you are really being asked to work in polarity consciousness, in the consciousness of singularly divine feminine, singularly divine masculine energy. If that's you, you're not working on a union path right now. You're just specifically working a divine feminine grid or a divine masculine grid. That's fine. You can do that. There's reasons and seasons for that. If that's what you're up to and you're looking at these as people, we do have this very interesting thing going on with Jupiter square Venus, Juno square Mars, divine feminine squaring masculine soulmate, divine masculine squaring feminine soulmate. I'm not surprised by this configuration just before the counterparts meet up, because this for many of you is going to constitute a bit of an about face where if you and your counterpart have been prone to triangulation or have not released triangles, meaning you and your counterpart are in love with each other, but both of you are, instead of just dealing with each other, are dealing with other people, right? This is a moment in time where the off ramp for others is approaching or is happening, whereby both of you have the opportunity to detach yourself from other people so you can just deal with each other. Whether you do that or not is a matter of your free will and mastery. The universe will not snatch them. They respect your decisions. So that's one way I'm seeing this play out, because there's just a lot of tension between soulmates and counterparts, because this is a moment in time that is going to pull counterparts together. Like I said, so what you do with that, that's up to you. We've got Jupiter sitting so close to Neptune, and that's really bringing a deeper spiritual awareness to all of this in our divine masculine energy fields, to connection, to what we want to produce next in our next cycle, our next chapter, and what that's going to take. There's a deep spiritual awareness to all of it, which is really nice to see. And there can be a real investment from our divine masculine energies into what's going to be of the highest good. And so that's really exciting as well. Okay. There's a real need with the Jupiter sextiling Pluto for inner transformation. There's an inner phoenix process certainly going on here in our divine masculine energy fields. And so if you're open to sharing in the comments what area of life in which you're doing releasing and purging, that's your divine feminine energy. And what area of your life you're investing into building and doing something new, that's your divine masculine energy. That may be very helpful for other people who are like, what's she saying? That may be very constructive for others who are really trying to land in how do I create clarity in this season where nothing seems to be definitive yet. How do I create that union with self energy when, the conversation of even having internal, both feminine and masculine energy is new to them? How do I do that? If you would be willing to just share, here's where I'm releasing in this area of life, here's where I'm building in that area of life, that would be great. And it doesn't have to be based on your astrology chart. You just look around your life, be self reflective. Where are you releasing? Where are you building? I'd be very curious. And I think so would everyone else in the comment section. That would be great. All right. If you want to book some time with me, you can totally do that. I'm over at kmoonastro.com. We can look at your union journey next year, what the union with self energy looks like in your personal chart going into 2023, the second half of this union window. It's been an honor to do this with you each lunation. Watch the Lightworker Energy Update. It does, in fact, have the first look at the new moon in Capricorn in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a good one. Take great care, everybody, and bye for now.